No one could deny the beauty of the girl who lived in a quiet town called Umo. Men from all over the world came to ask for her hand in marriage because of her glowing skin, radiant smile, and kind eyes, which made her the talk of the town. However, no matter how many men asked her to marry them, Ma couldn't say yes because she preferred to spend time with them, and then send them away once she was done. This wasn't because she didn't want love, rather, it was because she had deep secrets. She confided in her two best friends, Yuzo and Ken, about her troubles, but she was unable to discuss it with anybody else. She couldn't go a day without being with a man. Sometimes she had 10 in a single day. It wasn't because she wanted to, but because she had to. Since she was 15 years old, she had experienced a strange burning sensation in her body that made her feel restless. She began looking for men to put out the fire. But no matter what she did, the feeling persisted. By the time she turned 25, the problem had gotten worse. She couldn't remember how many times she had sought help, but no one knew how to help her. She had slept with nearly every man in her town because she had a high fire between her legs that needed to be constantly sated. She was so ashamed that she had even paid men to be with her in an attempt to put out the burning, but it didn't work. Every night she would lie in bed and cry. I was wondering why she was cured of these horrible secrets. She didn't want to live this way, but it seemed impossible to stop her parents from being unaware of what was happening to their lovely daughter. They frequently pushed her to marry a nice man, saying, "You're so beautiful, why don't you settle down with a nice man?" But she was unable to tell them the truth. How could she explain that one man would never be enough for her when she needed a lot of men every day? Even though the true reason was much darker, one day as she was leaving a small cafe, ran into a young man named Chima. He was kind and gentle, and for the first time in her life, she felt something strange and different. Her heart rose, and her cheeks flushed. Chima smiled at her and said, "No worries, are you okay?" Ma nodded quickly, unable to speak, and Chima offered her a ride home. That night after their chance meeting, she couldn't stop thinking about him. She was filled with hope that perhaps Chima would change. As the days passed, they spent more time together, and eventually, Chima confessed his love for her, and Mma was thrilled. For the first time she thought she could lead a normal life. Even though I genuinely loved Chima, perhaps this love would reveal her secret and put out the fire inside of her. But it didn't. The burning desire persisted, despite her best efforts to conceal it. Before long, she was sneaking off to see other men every day, something she detested about herself, but she was powerless to stop herself. The guilt consumed her every time she was with Chima, making her feel as though she was deceiving him. She wanted to be faithful, but the fire between her legs was too great. One evening, Chima surprised her with a proposal. He asked, "Will you marry me?" And she said, "Yes." She was thrilled and couldn't wait to tell her best friends, Yuzo and Ken, about it. The three of them met at their regular spot, and the following day, Ma proudly displayed her engagement ring, her smile beaming. Ken applauded her, gave her a firm embrace, and they all laughed and drank as they celebrated this significant day in her life. Ken imagined the lovely life he was going to have with Chima, but he had a horrible feeling in the back of his mind that she had always been under Im's shadow. Ken felt resentful and envious of Kay since she had battled to find love herself, and now she couldn't comprehend how someone with such a sinister secret could be the one to receive everything. How could someone who had slept with so many men be rewarded with love and happiness? Why was Kay left with nothing? Prevent the jealousy from intensifying. It tore at her until she devised a scheme to thwart Ma's wedding on the big day. The wedding hall was exquisitely decorated, and Ma and Chima were surrounded by friends and family. Everyone was thrilled to see their love, but just as they were ready to exchange rings, a strange thing happened. The big screen in the hall flickered, and a video began to play. It wasn't a romantic film about Ma and Chima's journey together. Rather, It was a video of Ma and Chima having affairs with other men. Chim's face went white as he realized what he was witnessing, and the guests gaped in disbelief as the sounds of their voices filled the room. Em remained still as her words came tumbling down all around her. Omar could sense the weight of everyone's criticisms as the whispers in the room became louder. Chima left me behind as he left the hall without saying anything. Amma begged him to listen as she raced after him in tears, but it was too late. Oza hurried to Ma's side and helped her get into a car and drive her home because Chima was too hot and left her standing there broken and alone. Ma sobbed uncontrollably, wondering how her life had come to this point. She knew her secret would destroy her, but she never imagined it would happen this way. The days that followed were filled with sorrow and regrets. MMA's heart ached for Chima, but she understood that facing the harsh reality was hard and that she needed help, really help, to put out the fire inside of her. You might be wondering who had played the video on. On the day of her wedding, she confided in her buddy Ken with her secrets. Because of jealousy and envy, Ken actually played a covert recording of her with other men on her wedding day in an attempt to dissolve the marriage. Ma was unaware of Ken's involvement and continued to treat Ken as if he were a friend and sister. Ken continued to try to get Chima's attention by finding new ways to do so, and she thought to herself, now that I've managed to ruin the relationship between Chima and Em, I think I can have Chima to myself. Why would someone who constantly has affairs marry me and this attractive man? Ken, I have to get Chima. Chima was more interested in spending time with her buddy than anything related to talking about it. Thus, despite her best effort, it didn't work out. Ma, on the other hand, made the decision to get professional help. She found a doctor who specialized in the disorder she had, and gradually, through therapy and treatment, she started to heal. It wasn't easy, but she knew she had to fight for her life, which is why, one day, after many months of healing, Ma received a letter from Chima in which he told her that, despite his hurt feelings, he still cared about her and wanted her to get better. He also went on to write that he later realized that it wasn't Em's fault, but rather a medical condition, and instructed her to call the number provided. Out of excitement, Ma called Chima using the number provided in the letter, and they had a lengthy conversation that resulted in a reconciliation. Chima and Em's relationship began anew, and Chima was prepared to help Em become fully recovered from her problems with high libido via treatment. However, the friendship can never be the same as it was before Chima and Ken eventually got married, and her friend Yuzo was the chief bridesmaid. They were all very happy and lived their lives happily ever after. Ken, on the other hand, realized that she couldn't have Chima and that she had done so much harm to her friend Ma. She decided to come ask for forgiveness and beg for forgiveness. The lesson to be learned from this tale is it's crucial to get treatment and be honest with ourselves before it's too late, because secrets, no matter how well hidden, always find a way to surface. Facing the truth, no matter how painful it may be, is the path to genuine recovery. Second, we should be careful about who we tell our secrets to, because sometimes we should just be the best friends to ourselves and keep our secrets to ourselves. Thank you so much for listening to this story. Some people we call friends are actually unfriendly. Please click the subscribe button if you haven't already so that you can receive notifications when I post more thought-provoking and captivating stories like this one. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope you learned a few things. My name is on Stories and Tales. I don't take your unwavering support for granted, and I hope to see you in my future video. Goodbye.